Washington, D.C., on the mall at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, which is situated right between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. Maya Lin, the architect of the memorial, sought about uniting the memorial to the nation's past, bringing together the past and the present. It's this very long series of slabs of stone, this highly reflective black granite that actually points to both of those monuments. Although the architect didn't like to refer to these as walls, in a way they are walls, but it's very thin, sunk into the ground and inscribed with the names of the servicemen who died in the Vietnam War. There are more than 58,000 names on these 72 panels, and in fact, more names are being added. It's overwhelming, the density of the names. As you walk down this path, you sink into the earth. The earth opens up and reveals these names. Because the surface of the stone is so reflective, it becomes a mirror, and really all that seems to have substance is the rougher surface of the names themselves. Maya Lin's idea was that it was the names that were the reality, the substance of the monument, and that the reflectivity of the granite opened up into another world that we could not enter, but which was there for us to see. She describes that when she first visited the site, she wanted to reveal that edge. There is a real journey involved here. You walk down in, you find the name of your loved one embedded within the chronological sequence of the death of all these soldiers, and then you walk back out. The chronology begins and goes down towards the right as we're facing the wall, and then picks up again on the low edge, the left side, and then towards the center again. As we move down the center, the path widens and the granite rises more than 10 feet above us. The names become a symbol of this person multiplied by more than 58,000 times. But even though you got that abstraction, you also have this very concrete reality. You have this place for family to come, to gather, to reflect on that name. Maya Lin talks about the name as an abstraction that in fact means more to family and loved ones than does a picture. A picture represents someone at a particular time and a particular place as one moment in their lives, whereas a name might recall everything about that person. There is this powerful accumulation of all the names. As you descend, you walk into the densest middle of the monument. It's a very different experience than most previous war memorials. When we think about the history of war memorials, we often think about the memorials to military heroes like the monument to Lord Nelson in Trafalgar Square, or you might think about the Shaw Memorial by Augustus St. Gaudens in the National Gallery, where you have a hero leading an anonymous army with an allegorical figure representing peace and death. This combination of allegory and heroism that's usually in memorials is completely absent here. Evidently, the committee that judged this decided that this abstraction would be best. It's interesting to think about how the committee didn't know who Maya Lin was. There were 1,400 entries, completely anonymous. Maya Lin at that point was an undergraduate at Yale. She was an architecture student. She's an Asian American. It's interesting to think about what might have happened had they known who this application was from. Once her identity had been revealed, there was real backlash and racism. There was backlash also about the abstraction. Ultimately, that was resolved by a much more naturalistic sculpture adjacent to the main memorial. Maya Lin was brilliant in creating a public space, and yet tremendous intimacy through minimalism. Maya Lin's Vietnam Memorial is one of the most successful memorials in the nation, and apparently one of the most visited monuments in Washington, D.C. Even the black granite created controversy. She talked about how she couldn't expect granite that came from Canada or from Sweden, the two countries that had really good quality black granite, because there was too much political baggage because draft dodgers had gone to both of those countries. One opponent of her design said, "One needs no artistic education to see this memorial design for what it is, a black scar and a hole hidden, as if out of shame." The work was often called a black gash on the mall. Building permits were refused, and it took a 4-star brigadier general to testify before subcommittee hearings and defend the color before the project moved forward. The many different conceptions about the work were very different than what Maya Lin had intended for the wall. She specifically took an apolitical approach and wanted the design to be about those veterans who had sacrificed their lives and not about the political controversy at all. not about whether if it was something shameful or something honorable. The country had not only fought the war, but then fought itself over the meaning of the war. Myelin was very wise in sidestepping that and putting to the fore simply the names, the numerical power of all those fallen. Other works by Myelin include The Blue Lake Pass and Eclipse Time. We are now in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. We are looking at the Lukasa Memory Board from the Mbudiye Society of the Luba Peoples from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This work is made of wood, beads, and metal, and was created between the 19th to 20th century CE in Africa. As you can see, this is an additive sculpture with wood backing that is carved with beads and has metal attached. While Europeans may open a history book to learn about their past, in the Luba Kingdom of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, history was traditionally performed, not read. In fact, Luba royal history is not chronological and as static as Westerners learn it. Rather, it is a dynamic oral narrative which reinforces the foundations upon which Luba kingship is established and supports the current leadership. This history is also used to interpret and judge contemporary situations. Special objects known as Lukasa memory boards were used by experts in the oral retelling of history in Luba culture. The recounting of the past is performative and includes dance and song. The master who has the skill and knowledge to read the Lukasa will utilize it as a mnemonic device, touching and feeling the beads, shells, and pegs to recount history and solve current problems. The Luba Kingdom of the Democratic Republic of the Congo was a very powerful and influential presence from the 16th to the early 20th centuries in Central Africa. Their art highlights the roles that objects played in granting the holders the authority of kingship and royal power. The Luba people are one of the Bantu peoples of Central Africa and the largest ethnic group in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The kingdom of the Luba arose in the Upemba Depression, a large marshy area comprising of some 50 lakes, in what is now the Southern Democratic Republic of the Congo. The Luba had access to a wealth of natural resources including gold, ivory, and copper, but they also produced and traded a variety of goods such as pottery and wooden sculpture. For the Luba people, kingship is sacred, and the elite Mbudiye society, whose members are considered men of memory and who have extensive religious training, use the Lukasa to recount history in the context of spiritual rituals. Diviners, who have the power to predict the future, can also read the Lukasa. Each Lukasa is different, but small enough to hold in the left hand. The board is read by touching its surface with the right forefinger. The tactile qualities are apparent. The Lukasa illustrated here is one of the oldest known examples, with carved geometric designs on the back and sides. The complex clusters of beads of various sizes whose colors have faded over time. The board is narrower at the center, making it easy to hold. The Lukasa is typically arranged with large beads surrounded by smaller beads or a line of beads, the configuration of which dictates certain kinds of information. This information can be interpreted in a variety of ways, and the expert might change his manner of delivery and his reading based upon his audience and assignment. The most important function of the Lukasa was to serve as a memory aid that describes the myths surrounding the origins of the Luba Empire, including recitation of the names of the royal Luba line. The back is designed to look like a crocodile back, an animal who can live in multiple worlds. This reveals the Luba people's quality to be adaptable and timeless. The overall shape is designed to look like a tortoise, a symbol of Luba royalty. The Mbudiye Society was established in the 1700s to preserve and disseminate Luba knowledge. The Council of Men and Women were charged with sustaining and interpreting the political and historical history of the Luba. They must pass through many stages of tests as they master successive levels of knowledge. Mubudiye is the highest level. As the community was pre-literate, all histories and traditions were oral. To prevent their loss, Lukasa memory boards were used. Another work from the peoples of the Democratic Republic of the Congo is the Nikisi and Kondi power figure. A common theme between the two works, Vietnam Veterans Memorial and Lukasa Memory Board, is interpretation of history.